I joked about my coworker's ex-tattoo bet, but the photo he picked made the room go silent. Jake from my office was a loud gym bro who acted like he was built different. Every lunch break, he'd flex in the break room mirror and lecture us about protein and recovery. He brought resistance bands to meetings like we were about to do warm-ups. If anyone said they were sore, he'd say, "That's weak, man." Then he'd challenge people to arm wrestling or push-ups, win, and act like we should applaud. One Tuesday, he was extra unbearable. He was bragging about getting stitches once and not even blinking. Then he goes, "I've got the highest pain tolerance here. I can handle anything physical." I was so over it that I blurted right then, "You couldn't sit for a tattoo I pick for an hour without tapping out." The room went quiet. Then Jake laughed like I'd told a joke. "Easy money," he said. "I've been wanting another tattoo anyway." We made it a real bet. If he asked the artist to stop even once, he had to admit in front of the whole office he wasn't as tough as he acted. If he made it the full hour, I'd pay for 6 months of his pricey gym membership. He shook my hand right there, grinning like he'd already won. I was thinking something small and embarrassing. A tiny butterfly. A goofy cartoon. Nothing serious. My girlfriend Sarah was with us and she smirked. "Make it a portrait of his ex," she joked. The whole break room cracked up. Even Jake laughed. He leaned back and said, "Do it. Pick whoever. You're still paying my gym fees." The way he said it made it feel like a game. That weekend we went to a tattoo shop. It smelled like disinfectant and the buzzing sound was already in the air. I still thought we'd grab some random photo and be done. Jake signed the forms fast and sat down like he was getting a haircut. The artist asked, "So what are we doing?" Jake pulled out his phone. "I've got the reference," he said. He held the phone out and I saw the picture. My stomach dropped. It wasn't some awkward ex. It was a girl with this bright smile, like she was mid-laugh. Jake's hands were shaking as he zoomed in, thumb rubbing the screen over and over. Sarah stopped smiling. I said, "Wait, who is that?" Jake swallowed and said, barely above a whisper, "That's Emma. She was my girlfriend in high school. She died 3 years ago. Car crash." The shop suddenly felt too small. I said, "No, we're not doing that. Pick something else. Bet's over." I meant it. I was ready to pay the gym fees just to undo the last 5 minutes. Jake kept staring at the photo and said, "Don't back out." I agreed. I said, "This isn't funny anymore." He looked at me and said, "It wasn't funny. Not for me." The artist was an older guy with full sleeves. He leaned in, studied the photo, and his face changed. "You sure you want a portrait?" he asked Jake. "That's serious work." Jake nodded once. The artist looked at us and said, "A good portrait isn't quick. 2 hours, maybe more." I started to protest again, but Jake cut me off. "2 hours is fine," he said. "I'm doing it." They cleaned his forearm, wiped it down cold, and put the stencil on. The chair squeaked every time he tensed. The smell of alcohol wipes hit my nose. Jake didn't crack jokes now. He didn't flex. He just sat stiff, jaw tight, eyes wet. The machine started and the first line went in. Jake flinched, then froze like he was forcing his body to obey. A tear rolled down his cheek, then another. Then he was crying without a sound. I kept waiting for him to tap out. I almost wanted him to because it would end this, but he didn't. The artist worked slow, wiping ink, leaning back, going back in. The shop radio played low, and the needle buzzed louder than it. Every few minutes he asked, "You okay?" Jake would nod and whisper, "Keep going." His whole arm trembled, but he kept it out. As the portrait took shape, Jake started talking, like it was spilling out of him. He told us about their first date at a cheap diner. He told us how Emma used to sneak little notes into his locker. He said she wanted to be a veterinarian and would stop to pet every stray cat. He said her perfume smelled like vanilla, and he could still remember it on his hoodie. Then his voice broke and he said, "I've been trying to be tough because I don't know what to do with this." The buzzing kept going, and his tears didn't stop. Sarah handed him tissues, and he took them without looking. The artist didn't react. He just kept working, wiping away ink and tears, line after line. Jake never once asked for a break. He never asked to pause. He just kept saying, "I'm good, keep going." Finally, the artist leaned back and said, "All right." He cleaned the skin and held up a mirror. On Jake's forearm was Emma's face, detailed and real, like she was right there, smiling. Jake stared at it, and his body went slack. He covered his mouth and sobbed. I pulled out my card to pay, hands shaking, because I had technically won the bet, and it felt like the worst win of my life. Now my coworkers are saying I pushed him too far. Was I wrong?